Hello and welcome back to another festive card idea for December 2026. It's Lois here from Lois and Morgana Davidson Art, and today I'm going to be sharing with you how I made this really beautiful shimmering golden bauble card made with watercolour paint and using a sort of printing or stamping technique onto lovely black paper or cardboard. You can make multiple versions of this really quickly and easily, and attached to a card blank like this, they can make wonderful cards or even gift tags for friends and family for this festive season. And if you're looking for festive gifts for yourself or for creative friends and family this year, then we'd like to suggest one of our two books, either Landscapes in Watercolour or our new book, which is Flowers in Watercolour, which we're really proud of. And we'll invite you to take a look at the links below, where you'll either be able to order or pre-order from some parts of the world. Right, let's get back to this demo. I'm really excited to share this incredibly simple way of working with you. So you'll need a few things. You don't have to have exactly the same things as me. Anything sort of similar will work to create the same kind of vibe as I'm going for. I'm using black card. It's quite light, or you could use black paper, as this is going to be stuck onto a card blank, but any dark colour is going to work as long as it contrasts well with the gold. That's what I'm looking for. I've also got this gold stamp pad. This is what I'm going to be using to stamp with my silicone fern shapes. And I've got this sort of stamp pad that's got imaginary writing on it as well here, which I think is really lovely to use, just to add that really sort of festive and old-fashioned vintage look to the card. But of course, you can use anything that you've got, any stamps that you've got will be great for this. And some people suggested after my last video that if you don't have these kind of plant stamps, that you can of course pick ivy leaves or little fern leaves, anything like that, and use the leaves themselves for stamping, which I think would be so much fun. And I think I'm going to have a go at something similar myself at some point. So I've got a paintbrush as well, and I've got a small round plastic lid here. I'm going to use this to create the perfectly round bauble shape. And of course I've got my gold paint. A rigger brush is really handy because it's nice and fine, but any brush with a fine point, some tissue for mopping up, and I'm going to be using a pair of gloves to protect my hands. Just any old gloves will do like this. I just find that I'm a bit of a messy tyke when it comes down to using the ink pads and doing stamping. So I'm going to be using this lovely flexible silicone stamp, and I'm only going to be stamping with one corner of it. Rather than using the whole thing, I'm going to press down on that corner which I've just inked up on the gold pad. And you can see it's given me this kind of faded out look to the stamped result. And I think that's really, really pretty. If I give you a sort of close up of that, you can see how I've kind of got this faded edge all the way around it. But it's a really nice basis for my design. So now I'm going to use my fern stamps and just put a couple of simple fern shapes around that little bit of fake writing. I'm afraid I don't have links for any of these stamps. I bought them from eBay a couple of years ago, so they're quite old. But I think you can find things similar to this in craft shops, and maybe things that are even more overtly festive, and maybe some stamps that are actually attached to wooden blocks that are a little bit easier to work with. I don't mind if I get a sort of a hit and miss or sort of partially inked up area on any of my ferns, because I'm going for that really pretty faded sort of vintage look. And if you notice, I've sort of left a gap between those two ferns. This is where I'm planning to place my bauble shape. And I'm going to use gold paint for that, and a slightly different gold So I'm using my gold watercolour paint and just simply painting the rim of this cup. Plenty of gold, nice and rich. Then I'm going to use the rim of the cup to sort of stamp into that little gap and print a perfectly round circle. I'm going to make sure it sort of overlaps the printed marks in places slightly. You can see I'm overlapping with the writing and the edges of the ferns. And now I'm going to sort of dip my wet brush into a bit more water, a bit more paint, just working inside the edge, being careful not to go outside of that circle, just dragging a little bit of colour into the circle. I'm not worrying about covering the whole area. In fact, I'm deliberately trying to leave some of the black paper showing and to sort of dapple the marks of gold. And that will automatically, without me even trying, give me the sense of the reflective surface of the bauble. And that's enough. And now using my rigger brush, carefully pulling up a nice vertical thin line over and through the printed writing, and then sort of creating a little tiny nubbin at the top of the bauble for that little part where it attaches, the cap where the string attaches. Maybe just using my paper tissue to wick out any areas that are a little bit too wet, or to maybe add a bit of texture by dabbing and lifting off some paint. And it really is as simple as that. And if you've got a large piece of black paper, you could repeat this motif or slightly different variations of it across the piece of paper. So then you can then cut all these up and create multiple cards in one sort of printing and painting session. And so it could be a really quick way of making some very, very beautiful cards. And in order to create the card, all I've done is I've taken some sort of lovely rich brown craft card. I really like these card blanks that I get from my local card shop, which is craft shop, which is called The Works in the UK. And I've just used a little bit of craft glue, cut out my design and stuck it on the front. And you can see how beautiful it looks. I'm sure it would be well received by friends and family. I think they'd be really chuffed to get something like this. Of course, you need to leave the printing ink to dry for a little while, because some printing inks take a little bit longer than paint. But I hope you really like this idea. And of course, there are quite a few more ideas for creating Christmas cards here on our channel. So why not take a look at our recent videos? Not just for these kind of decorative cards, there are also some ideas for creating beautiful loose watercolour landscape Christmas cards as well. Well, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then please leave us a like, and why not subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And hop over to Patreon if you'd like to support the channel even further. And thank you so much to everybody that comes to Patreon and supports us there. There's plenty of exclusive content over there for you. Masterclasses, you can share your paintings in the chat groups. So if you think you might like that, why not give Patreon a try? I'll see you again soon. Take care and happy painting. Bye.